Today's a good day for Call of Duty fans worldwide. With Season 4 releasing today and the new map Vondel releasing for Warzone, as well as a lot of different changes in today's patch notes, I'm going to go over them for you. My name is Redix. Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for all the support and let's dive in. The first big change to go over is one that we've been waiting for forever. Now maybe you in specific haven't been, but most of the community has been asking for a higher TTK, not necessarily in multiplayer, but in Warzone, and they finally added 50 base health. So now when you combine your plates plus your base health, your health equals out to 300, which should just make the gameplay a little bit smoother. You should be able to kind of traverse and move around the map a little bit easier. When you need to rotate, it might be a little bit harder for teams to wipe you from a distance. It's going to add a lot more opportunity for skill-based gameplay in this game. Rather than just sitting on top of a building and shooting someone 4 times and getting the kill, you're at least going to have to control your recoil now. Speaking of which, obviously with changes to the health, they had to make changes to some of the weapons. A lot of the shotguns received a buff, a few of them received a nerf. Some of the other weapons like the Cronen Squall that was overpowered has been slightly nerfed, but enough where it will be very noticeable, and I think the Cronen will probably fall outside of the favored meta. They also buffed the Fennec, but only in Warzone, and it makes sense with raising the TTK. That thing already had a really slow one, even though it's a fast-firing weapon. They also added Akimbo to the FTAC Siege. That's the fully automatic secondary pistol. That's very, very interesting. All you have to do is get 25 hip-fire kills with the FTAC Siege to unlock that. They also added a new barrel called the Kastov 17 barrel for the Kastov 74U. Now this replaces the 545 Tracer at level 9 on the Kastov, and I assume that's because in Infinity Ward or Activision's data, they probably see that no one's using that on the Kastov, so maybe that's the reason for this. And maybe this new barrel will make that gun a little bit better. I do think the shotgun changes are interesting and maybe even somewhat alarming, because I actually have a video on my second channel, Redix Retreat, if you want to check it out, where I was using the Bryson 890. It was honestly pretty overpowered. I ran into Capture, if you guys are familiar with that streamer. He's pretty big, definitely a lot more notoriety than me, so if you're watching this video, you probably know who he is. And I had him raging. I killed him multiple times with this weapon, and now they actually decrease the minimum damage, but they increase the head multiplier, the neck multiplier, upper torso, arms, and legs all increase, so the gun's gonna be a lot better than it already was. Now, are these increases only going to pretty much offset the new TTK, or are they gonna make this gun insanely strong? We're gonna find out, as well as the Bryson 800, which wasn't very good, the Expedite 12, and the Lockwood 300 all got buffs, while the KV Broadside received a bit of a damage decrease, which I think is amazing, because if they buffed the Broadside, the fire rounds or whatever would have been right back. It would have been very annoying. Another thing they're doing that I'm personally excited about is the fact that they're taking away that animation where when you're flying with your parachute and you cut it, your player has his hands out or his fists out, but then other times when you cut the parachute, your player has his weapon out. Now you're always going to have your weapon out anytime you cut your parachute. This is great because I personally really enjoy flying onto people and trying to snipe them in the sky and things like that, just going for fun clips, and that's something you haven't really been able to do here in this iteration of Warzone, and I think they're just making small changes to add the fun back. A lot of people are wondering if Raven is fully in charge of Warzone now, because a lot of these changes go against what Infinity Ward wanted with this game, adding speed, adding momentum, adding fun things to the gameplay like that. Those are things that Infinity Ward was completely against early on. Now maybe because the player base has dipped their opening back up to it, or maybe someone like Raven or Treyarch has taken over a bit on Warzone. Either way, the player base seems to be really happy with the last couple of updates, and hopefully that continues in the upward direction. That being said, I know a lot of people, especially on my channel, are probably curious, where are the multiplayer updates? Well, Infinity Ward has said that they really like the way multiplayer plays, and there's probably not going to be any major changes to MP for the rest of the game's lifespan. However, there will be some new maps, including gunfight and multiplayer, and for you ranked players, I wouldn't expect anything being added to the map pool, because as of tomorrow, Call of Duty Champs begins, which is the World Championship, the biggest tournament in the game. So for them to add any maps to the competitive map pool now would be, well, just unprecedented, but also very, very unlikely. Now, that doesn't mean the new maps aren't any good. I've actually heard good things about them from people who have already tried them, so if you play public matches, you might actually enjoy those updates as well. As far as changes to weapons, health, movement speed, anything like that for multiplayer, I wouldn't expect anything for the rest of the game's lifespan. Speaking of COD Champs, even if you don't watch Call of Duty competitive, make sure you have your Activision account linked to either Twitch or YouTube, and you can pull it up during the weekend even without watching it. Just have it up in the background on your phone or on your computer. You can get a lot of the different awesome viewership rewards that they have now. A lot of times these rewards aren't great, but I do think these ones in Champs, there's a nice M4 blueprint, also some really cool weapon charms and, you know, calling cards and things like that that I really like, and they're free. All you have to do is just have it pulled up on your phone, or like I said, on a computer, something like that. Something that's frustrating is, as of the time of recording this, the update has been live. I have loaded up to check it out, and there is no Warzone ranked, there is no multiplayer ranked, so we can't see any of the new rewards. However, it doesn't seem like they're very special. Once again, it looks like we're just going to be getting calling cards, emblems, and maybe weapon charms, with some boring camos and skins from just playing a lot rather than ranking up. In the first season season of ranked, the only reason I played it was to get the iridescent skin. Obviously, I played it because I'm a fan of competitive as well, but last season, I barely played ranked. I went from Diamond 1 to Crimson 1, and then I stopped playing. One reason, as you guys know, is due to hackers. Another reason is because it got kinda stale and there was no real rewards to go for. Looks like this season might be a lot of the same, so I'm not sure how much ranked I'll be playing, but nonetheless, whatever I play, you will be able to find on my streams on this YouTube channel, as well as twitch.tv/redix_, links in the description if you want to check those out. Something else that was added in today's update for Warzone is similar to what's in Apex, where now when you die or get knocked, it will let you know how many players shot at you. If you guys are familiar with an Apex Legends, when you die, you're able to see your death report. It will show you how many different players shot you, how much damage they inflicted, how much damage you did, and what weapons they were using. It's a lot better than how it was because now you can give your teammates even better information, so players who are actually communicating are going to benefit from this a lot. There's a new mode called Lockdown starting out in Vondel. It's a limited time mode for now, but they may want to keep it if a lot of people enjoy it. It's basically like Warzone Resurgence with hardpoint for multiplayer added in. Looks like it could be some fun, but I don't really expect it to stick as most LTMs don't. But something to note about Vondel that a lot of people may not know is that Beenox actually created this, and Beenox are the people who created the first Rebirth Island map all the way back in Black Ops 4, which was then reimagined and recreated in the last Warzone. This is their first map since then, so Ashika Island, Fortune's Keep, any of the Warzone big maps, none of those were by Beenox, only Rebirth Island, and that's very exciting, so I can't wait to dive in and play the game today. Maybe the biggest news for competitive players, but a lot of players as well will enjoy this, is the Rejoin feature has been added. It's currently in beta. You guys know how this works with Call of Duty. Usually things aren't perfect right off the bat, and that's understandable at times. But if your game crashes, you're going to be able to rejoin into the same match within 4 minutes, so long as at least one of your players from your squad was alive. I assume you'll pick up right back where you crashed from with all your weapons and money and things like that. They have mentioned some known issues that are plaguing it right now, but obviously they're going to be working on that throughout the season. But that's going to be great, especially for the World Series of Warzone that's coming up, which I mean, no one really knows how that's going to work out. The first ever real Warzone LAN event. Obviously, I know Repulse and those guys threw one a few years ago, and that was an awesome event, but this is actually ran by Call of Duty with a huge prize pool, so it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. So having the Rejoin feature is going to be huge for that, because if not, I think Activision would have got pretty embarrassed by how many people actually crashed during a major tournament. Another awesome thing that I'm excited about is the reinforcement flare field upgrade. This is something that they added to Vondel only currently, though it could come to Al Mazrah as well as Ashika Island, but it's a field upgrade that will redeploy an eliminated squad member that is randomly selected. So obviously if you're picking a random dead teammate, if you have 3 dead teammates and the game chooses who comes back and it chooses maybe the worst player of the 3, it could lead to some pretty funny situations. Also, now strongholds open up right at the start of each match, and there's no more AI on the map outside of at the black sites. I think AIs at the black sites actually makes sense. Without there being AI there, the black site really wouldn't have any purpose aside from you just going, unlocking it, and getting a free advanced UAV and a bunch of other loot. That wouldn't be fair, so having the Juggernaut there to me makes a little bit of sense. However, strongholds having AIs and them always shooting at you while you're in fights, that was horrible, no one liked it, and 8 months later they finally removed it. Resurgence players should be very excited about dynamic resurgence as well, so here's what they say in the patch notes. The resurgence countdown timer is now dynamic and will adapt based on the current number of players in your squad. To clarify, a solo player that queues into a quads playlist will play with solo countdown timer rules, so if I play solo quads, I now will be able to still respawn even though I won't have any teammates. That is super exciting. It's going to make it to where I don't have to sit and play solos, and when there's no solos playlist out, I'm not going to be forced to play with a bunch of random teammates. A lot of other good changes were in here, though they were small, so the last thing I really want to go over is that Warzone Ranked finally has restrictions. Now, for it to really be a ranked mode, obviously your SR system and your rankings all matter, but you also have to get rid of a lot of the BS. The only weapon that has been vaulted for that mode is the Riot Shield, which makes sense. They also removed all thermal sights. They removed the cluster mine, the bomb drone. Amazing, thank you for that. They got rid of fire sales, jailbreaks, and restocks, which obviously makes it a little bit more competitive as well. They got rid of a few vehicles, including the ones with turrets on them and the heavy chopper, and they got rid of global text chat and proximity voice chat, which just makes so much sense. Earning SR is still pretty much the same. First place gets 100 SR, second place gets 80, third place gets 60, and so on. It continues to go down, and then you get more SR per kill the later in the game that it is. The deployment fees are pretty much the same as well. If you're in bronze, you have no deployment fee. From silver to gold, you're between 14 to 33. Once you get to diamond, it's up to -72 just to play a match, and then crimson 3 is -100. Iridescent is -110 SR every time you play a game. Max it could start out at is -230 SR. That's for people who are obviously trying to be #1 in the world. You guys can have it. That's too stressful for me. I will not be going for that, but I might actually go for iridescent this season in Warzone. However, the ranked playlists are going live here at a few hours at the time of recording this video, so we'll see if there are any more rewards that aren't in the patch notes, and if there are, I will probably give it a go. That being said, those are the main points of the patch notes. I will link the entire notes in the description below, and let me know what you guys would want to see on the channel moving forward. Since ranked play on multiplayer has gotten a little stale, I will still be posting tips as well as breakdowns on certain maps and things of that nature, but lately I've actually been enjoying playing Resurgence, and I think it's going to be even more fun after today's update, especially having 2 maps with Ashika and Vondel. So what would you guys like to see? I know the usual class setup videos aren't very fun to watch, but I do have my own twist on them on my second channel, and I could do those on the main channel as well. If you guys would like to see that, just give me some suggestions. I'm trying to continue growing the channel, even though right now we are in that stale zone of Call of Duty, where only time we really get any new content is during an update. Thank you for watching. Shout out to everyone on the screen for commenting centering on my last video as well as on my second channel video. You guys are the best. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys soon.